entirely sure how long it'll record, unlike the other one. Um, okay, so this is episode 4 of All I've Talked podcast. Um, we're here in Denise's studio. Would you like to kind of tell about yourself?
I'm Denise Couture. I am a mixed media artist. I have a studio in Pontiac, and today is our open house.
So, how long have you guys been in the studio?
We, as a group, we've been together in the studio for about a year, a little over a year.
How many of you share this
There's
studio?
5 of us that share this studio space. The building is 4 floors of different artists and makers from lots of different disciplines. We've got painters, potters, cabinetry, screen printing, traditional painting, teachers, you name it. There's somebody that does that discipline here.
How many art shows have you done around the state, or have you done like other art shows outside of Michigan as well?
Well, this is just an open house. But like art shows, I've done a lot of group shows for the past 15 years. I don't know. I do a couple a year. That's a lot when I stop and think about it. Some years I do, you know, maybe 6, and some years I might do 2. And I've had a couple solo shows as well.
How many like art shows have you gone to
Just as a
just
viewer.
yeah, as a
Like
viewer?
everywhere. That's like
Everywhere?
that's like my thing. So if I'm not working in the studio or at my normal job, then I'm usually pursuing some kind of art education. I'm self-taught, so I go and look at things and glean from other artists' processes.
If you were to have like a list of favorite art shows that you've gone as a viewer, what would be your top 5?
I saw recently an artist, Marisol, who her exhibit was in Toledo. I've seen Nick Cave a couple times, Cranbrook, DIA. I've seen him in Chicago. God, that's a difficult question without really giving it some thought. I mean, I've seen Marina Abramovich speak, and I found that profound. And met her afterwards, and I fangirl. Lisa Wad, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She's done a lot of floral installations, but the one that was really knocked my socks off was the Flower House in Detroit in 2015. She bought a couple old houses in Hamtramck at auction for next to nothing. And long story short, just had florists from all over the country do different installations on these houses before they were torn down. It was stunning. It was an interesting, phenomenal concept. And she also had artist Wheezy do a mural on the back of this house. It was extraordinary. So I think that one, because it's a local-ish artist and she's a really cool chick, that's probably my favorite.
How how many of your like art pieces have been shown like around Clarkson area? Because I know walking downtown, I've seen some of your paintings like up in one of the buildings. How was
The one that's in the mural in Clarkston, that was by an artist named Alex Guilford, and I was a lead artist on that. I helped him, so that was actually his work, so I don't
That was
want to
his
take
work?
credit for
Okay.
that. I learned a lot when I did that mural. About process and technique, but I also learned that I don't want to be a muralist because I'm terrified of heights, and that's a really bad idea. But
Well,
what
yeah.
was your question? I kind of drifted off and thought.
Oh no, you're good. That pretty much was my question. Have you contributed like any of your art projects for like to sell to like the, I don't know if you heard of the Clarkson Family Farm. It's a
Yeah, I'm
local
familiar
farm.
with that organization, but honestly, I've stepped away from Clarkston quite a bit.
Okay.
I don't think I'm their audience, and it's not a put down. There's a lot of things I love about Clarkston, but
Right. You
they,
feel
they
like
tend
it's a different
it's a
style.
different vibe. I'm not for them.
Okay.
It's just like theirs is very. Overall, I find that Clarkston is pedestrian in like their
Right.
viewing.
Kind of more touristy type of feel.
No, just down home and regular and not too cerebral. And I really like, I my work is a little bit more esoteric. It's a little bit different than that. It's not for everybody, and it's unexpected. And I think it's a little bit too much for Clarkston. And I had to learn that. But I'm in this community now, and I have my sights in a different direction.
You, where do you see the art landscape culture? Is it like more artists now than it was like pre-pandemic per se?
It's
It's
always
kind of like the
it's
vision.
always changing. The art scene is always changing. I mean, it's thriving in Detroit, and I could just fangirl all day over how many extraordinary artists there are coming out of Detroit. This vanguard. It's phenomenal, and I forgot the question again.
It was my question was, how's the art industry evolving?
How is it evolving?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the longer I'm in it, the more comfortable I'm in it. So, and since I'm self-taught, and I've always felt like an outsider, and I am an outsider, but I've always felt that way. So, I don't know. Maybe I perceive it differently. I don't know. I just see it as such a vibrant thing, and now that I'm getting older and I worry less about what people think of me, and it seems like connections are easier to make now, because I don't like this is what I am. I don't. If you don't like it, that's absolutely okay. I'm more confident in my work, and like then I meet other artists, and we vibe, and it's lovely to make some connections. And there's always people that say like, oh, you should totally like check this place out, because they'll get a feel for what I'm doing, and I can do likewise. So the art scene, from my perspective, is vibrant and supportive, and it's only getting better. This place is thriving, and I think my lucky stars that I'm here. There's so many different artists here, and we can work with each other.
Do you see the younger generation as being more artistic, or are they? Do you see it more as them just kind of trying to figure themselves out still?
Just like any generation, it's a mixed bag. And one thing I can say, I love this upcoming generation, and I think there's so much good music coming out right now. There's so many fantastic visual artists, so many innovative things that like have really helped develop my process, because I'll see somebody younger like breaking a rule with the art, which you should.
Right.
But just seeing that, and it's just like I have so much to learn from younger people. It's so exciting. I learn a lot from people of the past too, but there's patriarchy is real. There's a lot of the artists that I learned from that are from the past. They're men, because women weren't allowed to do that. So, but that's my frame of reference, and sometimes you have to search for those female artists. But it's a lot of cool different influences.
What's it been like being in this studio and in the surrounding Pontiac community? Like, how has the community kind of received your group of artists, or have you not
I
have
feel
much of
very
an impact?
supported. I feel very supported here. I mean, we're in a terrific building. The rent isn't expensive. You know, we love to support. I mean, I'm never a chain restaurant person, so like, you know, you have just a group of people that are like, you know, going to, you know, the local businesses and like Sheila's Bakery where they're like, you know, a couple times a month, and it's a good community to be in. I mean, you know, there's parts of it that aren't so nice, but it's an interesting. It's got an interesting flavor.
Right.
It's got a really interesting flavor. I mean, honestly, I am disappointed with the downtown area because, you know, there's just a lot of vacant places. You know, we yeah, I just. But overall, like the people here are terrific. It's been fun. Hi. Can you
Oh,
pause it for a minute?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I've done the dirty show a lot. Yeah. I had
Okay, there we go. So where we left. What are your inspirations for some of your art projects you got here? Like I see the cat mask you got over there. Kind of what inspired that?
Okay, that's a very specific thing. I had a dream once, and I don't normally remember my dreams. I don't normally dream so vibrantly, but I have a recurring theme when I do dream, and that's that there's rooms that I haven't discovered yet in my own house. So, in what makes sense to me, and then I've read about, you know, how to interpret dreams, that when you're dreaming about rooms that you've never been in your own house, it's like you have there's potential that you haven't unlocked yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so this particular time I had a dream. I had this tall, like 7 foot tall, like abominable snowman looking creature that was a chimera, which is like a fuse of two different animals.
Right.
And it had a clone. And I don't know like where this fell in the dream, but I seemed to like have fixated on that detail of the dream. And so I kind of it led me they led me through this path in my dream. So that was kind of like it's still a theme that I kind of want to develop a little bit with
So
these two figures, you know, giving them some kind of agency in my work.
so it's still an ongoing
Yeah,
project.
yeah. It's
Okay.
still like, I mean, just like a lot of my work, there's just like, you know, crap in the back of my head, you know, that kind of like comes out, and, you know, and something within that will come to fruition at some point, but
Okay.
a circuitous path to get there.
Do do you do any lessons or like teach any lessons?
No,
No?
I mean, I've done, you know, like, I've taught various creative processes, and I, you know, have done some commission work and stuff, but for right now, I really want to focus on the body of work that I'm in right now, which is focusing on ceramics, fiber, and wood, and then
Okay.
various other things, and you know, being able to put that together. And screen printing. It's a strange body of work, and I like it. I feel like for the first time I think I could roll with this. So I don't want to teach. I don't want to do workshops. I just, when I have time, I want to be here working
Just
on this
being
process.
creative.
Just working on this particular process and building up a cachet of work
Okay.
under that in that vein.
Now that pottery wheel, I believe it's what it was that I got you
Mm-hmm.
or had found for you. Have you created anything from it?
That right now resides at the Pontiac Creative Arts Center.
Okay.
I would use it more there than I have no
Here.
space for it here, and they have all kinds of space. Cool wind in my hair. I figure that they would get more use out of it there
Okay.
than I would be able to get out of it. And like I always say when people give me things, if I can't use it, you got to be okay with me giving it a life somewhere else.
Right.
So
So it's being used.
it's being
so,
used.
And that's awesome because that was the first thing I thought of when we were clearing out, and I saw it. I'm like, Denise could use this.
Yep. And I discovered that wheel potter, like making pottery on a pottery wheel isn't for me, but I really like doing like my little tableaus, my mixed media ceramic tableaus.
So what other interesting art making stuff have you like gotten through the years? Kind of.
I do a lot of paper collage. I still enjoy that. I knit, and I do find that to be an art, depending on how you do it. It's not always a craft. It kind of it can cross that border. I love to oil paint. I like to oil paint outside, especially in an urban area. I think that's fascinating. And cemeteries. I like to do paintings in cemeteries.
Have you done any like cemetery type artwork?
Yeah,
Kind of
there's
like
a couple
depicting.
hanging out in the hallway
Out there?
right now. Yeah.
Okay.
They all have a pink background, and they're really pretty and lively. But yeah, I find cemeteries very peaceful, and it kind of helps you put life in perspective too. Because
Right.
you're going to spend more time like that, not existing than existing.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
And the jacket you got on right now, how long did that take to make?
I was working on this for about a year.
Oh, and what kind of material is?
I use a variety of yarns. This one I decided to break some rules, and how I was talking about young people like doing
Right.
things you shouldn't do, tying knots in yarn and mixing fibers, and so this has some like super expensive yarns in it, that are silk and mohair, and I have some yarns in here that are from Kmart from the 70s that were in somebody's grandma's basement, so that are super cheap. So and they just all kind of work together.
Because it kind of reminds me of some of like the clothing that my aunt would wear. She lives over, well, used to live over in the Royal Oak area. Mm-hmm. My uncle converted an old barn house into like a barn and turned it into an actual house. And they were very into that authentic local artists, and they would get artworks from wherever they traveled because they've been to. I can't even count how many places they've gone to. They've gone to Japan, Alaska, and they always bring a piece of wherever they go. So their house kind of has a little bit of everything
I love
in
that.
there, and that's where I unfortunately haven't done much artwork lately. I used to a long time ago when I was in school. That used to be my big passion,
Yeah.
and that was before I got the wrestling bug and got into wrestling. That kind of became my art and passion, and it still is. And now I'm podcasting as like a form of art. I feel because there's
Stories to tell.
yeah, and that was my inspiration is to just I want to be able to share everyone else's story as well as mine,
Yeah.
which is why I felt it was important for me to start doing it and to get local artists and local businesses get their story out. So that's kind of I feel like my contribution to like the art community is just help everyone get their voice out.
I love that, and that's a really important thing too, because it's not like we're Amazon,
Right.
or Target or whatever.
It's a lot harder to get more authentic when you can't find it on Amazon per se. It's
And there's it's not an easy market.
No.
But I love this. I love this life.
What what's one of your like future projects that you're kind of able to talk about?
Well, I just finished a piece that I've been working on for about a year, that comprises of ceramic and screen printing, and like, I hate drawing. I hate drawing. I don't enjoy it. If I have a sketchbook, it's just got notes and scratches in it and some rudimentary thing. But I love color. I love building. I love texture. I love height. I love all that. So, and I love portraiture. So I had to figure out something to eliminate that pesky drawing step. You know,
Right.
I can do it. I just don't enjoy it. I just want to do other things. I just want to do interesting things, and I'm sure if I drew enough, I could come around to being a suitable, you know, person that draws. But I don't want to. So, screen printing, and I have a background in photography as well. So, you know, making screens of people's faces and using strange substrates like ceramics, make it fun, and then adding other things to it. That's the body of work that I have right now. So I don't think there's a specific project, but it's more of a body of work right now.
What's your view on like technology being involved in art? Like,
Technology is very helpful. I use technology when I have to do a portrait. I generally find a good photograph, and I make, print out a picture and trace the face.
right,
So there's technology for me has its place. There's a lot of really cool things about technology. You have, like, you can project things and all that. But I'm personally not a fan of digital art just on its own. It's not that I don't appreciate it. It's just not my process.
like for me, with like technology, at least just looking back on certain films and like the animation style, like what's your kind of take on that, like the evolution of
Oh, like with
animation
CGI
in
and stuff.
movies?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was talking about this in October because I like watching the same horror movies over and over again. And I watched American Werewolf in London. I believe that came out in 1980, right around there. But when David Naughton was changing into a werewolf, they didn't have CGI. They had to, like,
practical effects. Yeah,
yeah, the prosthetics, and the way the hair grew. I mean, it was so deliberate. It's so hands on, and I really hope it's not a lost art. And I'm not saying for a moment that it isn't work doing it on a computer, but there's something having that tactile
You just
thing. That's I want to touch it and feel it, and not just see it.
right, right.
So, and even though, like, sometimes, like, I've played around with, like, saying things into an AI churner. If it sparks a concept, I'm not against it, but on its own, yeah, it's a little dehumanizing.
Okay. And that's really all I got,
All right.
question wise. So it was great having you on here,
It was my pleasure.
and hopefully we could do another episode down the road and we
That
can
would
talk
be
more
lovely.
about your artworks. So,
Go ahead and
and
do a pan out there if you want to of what I've got.
I will. I'll make sure to take some pictures for
Cool.
all the different social medias as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And as always, have a great day, everyone, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye bye.